You know, you're actually right. No mountain does have four sides with equal angles, including fucking this one. Look at it. I have been tagged in so many conspiracy videos talking about this pyramid in Antarctica. So I'm gonna use this highly simple meme with the Sigma male stock footage behind it to break down why this conspiracy is fucking stupid. Firstly, it's worth noting that this peak doesn't even have a name, but it is part of the Ellsworth Mountains in Antarctica. Now, as far as mountains, it's fairly small, standing at about 4,000 feet, which, you know, is almost 3,500 feet taller than the Pyramid of Khufu, which you know is a little bit big for a pyramid. But Milo, if it's not a pyramid, then why does it look like a pyramid? Occam's razor, baby, the simplest answer is often the most likely. This shape is actually fairly common for geologic structures which were subjected to cold weather erosion. Here's a picture of the Alps where you can see a suspiciously straight ridgeline. This shape is caused by repeated yearly freeze and thaw action, and not by aliens.
You know how we've been told that we are the most advanced civilization with the most advanced technology? Yeah, that's all a lie.
Huh. Big Nick. I never dreamed that conspiracy talk would lead me down a rabbit hole where I'm going toe-to-toe with a manosphere influencer reporting live in the middle of the night from a Long John Silver's parking lot. With takes like this, I'm sure that Big Nick is going to have some truly fascinating things to say about human history. Just like I've always said, the only people I want to learn history from is people who hate women.
Old ancient hieroglyphs were actually discovered of them depicting what looks to be like Wi-Fi.
You piqued my interest when you said old, but old and ancient? Oh, fuck me sideways, now you got my attention. Alright, Big Nick, I'm gonna give you a little lesson for free. Today, we're gonna be talking about artistic interpretation. So this is an example of artistic interpretation. Oh wait, no, we can't do this one. This has a woman in it. He'll stop listening. Pull up a different slide. Trying to apply the artistic interpretation of people from thousands of years ago to your modern understanding of the world around you is fucking ass backwards. To me, this hieroglyph looks like a top hat with earmuffs on it. Now, is that a fantastic invention? Absolutely. Do I think that this means that there were oil barons with cold ears in ancient Egypt? Absolutely fucking not.
Pyramids parallel with the star systems in Orion's belt, but they were also parallel with the speed of light as well, and they were able to conduct electricity through these pyramids.
Wow. I have never heard a less coherent string of words in my entire life. Firstly, Orion's belt is not in the same position that it was when the pyramids were built. Secondly, the coordinates do not line up with the speed of light. And as an addendum to that, that also implies that ancient Egyptians used meters per second as a unit of measurement. And thirdly, I have no idea where you got the idea that they can conduct electricity, but since there's no source that actually says that, the only place I can imagine you got that from is directly out of your ass.
Ecclesiastes 1:9 tells us that there is nothing new under the sun. Essentially, what's been done before is going to be done again.
And that's just it, Big Nick. What's been done before will be done again. You will continue to make videos about random bullshit, and I will continue to tell you that you're wrong. But I'm not here to try and change your mind, because I know it's far too late for that. What I'm here to do is try and find people who may listen to your bullshit and get to them before you do, to steer people away from your propaganda before it's too late. Thank you all for watching. If you'd like to see my more long-form archaeological videos, you can check me out on YouTube, link to that is in my bio, and also follow me on Instagram and Twitter for my unhinged stream of consciousness. Remember to stay curious, stay inquisitive, and most importantly, remember to ratio Big Nick on Twitter at every chance you get.
The most proof I've ever seen that the Illuminati actually exist.
Well, I'm on the edge of my goddamn seat. Let's hear about it.
I know you know. I know you know.
That was the most convincing evidence you've ever seen, was Andrew Garfield making a joke. If you don't believe in radioactive spiders yet, I got some more Andrew Garfield content that's gonna blow your fucking mind. I really don't understand how people like this think that they have their third eye open and the rest of us are just asleep. I know I've said this before in another video, but you don't have to make up an invisible shadow government to be mad at. You can just be mad at the actual government. And you wanna know who it benefits the most to have you distracted talking about this shit? The actual government. Take the infamous Roswell crash, for example. The UFO that crashed in Roswell was a prototype US military reconnaissance aircraft that was intended for development to spy on the Russians. But when everyone started to get their panties in a twist about it being a UFO, the US government started to feed into it so no one would notice that it was them that did it. Conspiracy theorists love to act like they are 2 steps ahead of everyone when in reality they're being played like a fucking fiddle.
You haven't figured it out? It's an ice wall yet?
Don't you take that patronizing tone with me, boy. You're wearing a hat that says ice wall. I wish I had the balls to walk around with a sign on my head that says I never learned how to read.
When the Navy went to Antarctica and flying a helicopter and panning, they never get to the end because it is an ice wall.
Whoa, okay, pause. Antarctica's really big. About the size of one Antarctica. But you seem to have gotten the size of Antarctica confused with the size of Rhode Island. Secondly, let's critical think for a second, if you can do that. By some lapse of judgment on my end, I decided to give you a helicopter, and I told you to fly it around Antarctica. Firstly, you wouldn't make it. It's too big, you'd run out of fuel, you'd crash into the ocean. For any confusion, see Rhode Island. Before you crashed into the ocean, if you were flying around Antarctica in a big counterclockwise circle, do you know what you would see out of the left window of your helicopter the entire time? A giant wall of ice. You wanna know why? Because that's what it looks like when you're looking at the side of a giant fucking circle. I've been sailing along this coast for 10 months. I think it's an infinite wall of jungle. The sheep keep telling me that I'm just sailing around Hawaii. Wow, y'all been tagging me in this video like crazy. And I see why, because it's a perfect example of Space Rex's weird, incoherent, nothing makes any sense conspiracy theory. Rex wants you to believe that these are like giant snakes or like dragons or some leviathan or something like that. But guess what? It isn't. The first clue is actually on the screen right now, and that's the fact that the site is called Wadi El Khatan. Do you know what that means? It means Valley of the Whales, Rex. But you would know that if you Googled it. The mudstone, which the site is made out of, was deposited on a seafloor tens of millions of years ago. And because of this, it houses a wealth of marine fossils, including one that you actually show off here. This is actually the first complete fossil of a basilosaurus ever found. This big fella swam the ocean about 40 million years ago and is a descendant of many of our modern whales. See, Rex, you don't have to lie for things to be interesting. And this isn't some super unknown site that the government's trying to keep from you either. It's so important that it's literally a UNESCO World Heritage Site. And if you don't believe me, here's UNESCO themselves saying that it's an invaluable site because of its extinct whale fossils. So while this video may not have any proof of dragons, it does have some really good method acting. Powerful stuff, man. Daniel Day-Lewis would be proud.
Because I lie and sign myself to lies!
If you hate Ancient Aliens theories as much as I do, then you're gonna love this. I'm going to be making an entire series breaking down Ancient Aliens theories in depth, with videos that are a little bit more structured and a whole lot longer. And I want to tackle some actual big names as well, like the Ancient Aliens TV show, sponsored by the History Channel. Since I'm confined to 3 minutes here, I'll be posting those on YouTube, so check that out in my profile. And now I have to clean my room so I can actually film those videos in here.
Here's scary proof that giants once roamed the earth.
I'd like to apologize in advance for what all of you guys are about to witness, because I have had a really long day. I have been tagged in this video so many times. I actually did the math, and 20% of the comments under this video are people asking me to review it. And so here we are. So Matthew, I'd like to apologize for what I'm about to say to you. But that being said, let's get into it.
Anyone getting Attack on Titan vibes? Fuck. Archaeologists in eastern China have uncovered gigantic skeletons dating back approximately 5,000 years ago.
They have not found any skeletons. I have no idea where you're getting this date from because they haven't found any skeletons, and this is a Photoshop because they haven't found any skeletons.
Aye! Makes sense!
No, it doesn't.
No, that's not it!
Ah! Fuck me, stop screaming. Is that it? Is that how you be funny on this app? Just scream? Here, I'll try it. I'm kidding. I have self-respect. Charlie, you're one to talk.
In Bulgaria, there are more dating 7,000 years ago.
I dare you to cite a single one of these sources. You're just saying random fucking numbers. You're not- God, this is- Ow, shit. Fuck me. Look, I concussed myself and it's your fault.
And this is low-key a big secret because some archaeologists refuse to share the exact measurements of the skeletons.
If you genuinely think that archaeologists give enough of a shit to try and hide things from you, you're probably suffering from paranoia and should get it checked out.
The fuck off massive knife was found.
God is dead.
Finally, this giant fossil footprint was discovered in South Africa, dating millions of years old. How the fuck did that get there?
The footprint does not date to be millions of years old. The rock that it's in dates to be millions of years old because the rock is millions of years old. This is what happens when water gets between the cracks of rocks, freezes, expands, and rock breaks off. By looking at the cracks in this rock, I can tell you without a shadow of a doubt it's probably not sedimentary, and therefore there would be no way in hell that any sort of footprint would ever show up in it. It's probably a piece of granite. Tell me how the fuck a footprint shows up in granite. Also, a minor detail, why is it vertical? Do giants have gravity-defying feet?
Also, where are the rest of the footprints? So the rest of your giants dated from 5 to 7,000 years ago, so why the hell is there a footprint that's millions of years old?
I need answers. No!
I just gave you all the answers, but you're still screaming.
The amount of evidence the giants once roamed the earth is overwhelming.
Then show me some of it. Stop doing that. I need to take this jacket off. I'm like overheating. Holy shit. I'd like to thank you all very much for watching. I am so glad I am done with that video. I would like to dedicate this video to these patrons. You guys make me being able to do what I love possible, and I appreciate that. Check me out on Instagram and YouTube and all that other good stuff. The links to those are in my bio, and as always, remember to stay curious, stay inquisitive, and please keep tagging me in videos of screaming little British boys.
What if I told you guys that part of the ancient Egyptian empire was in the Americas?
Then I'd say you're full of shit.
Fact number 1, our national parks. Let's take a look at places like the Grand Canyon.
Sweet baby Jesus. Here he's trying to convince you that the Isis temple feature at the Grand Canyon was an Egyptian pyramid or something, but I'm pretty sure this is just because he googled places with Egyptian sounding names in the United States and then went from there. Anyone in their right mind knows that this isn't a pyramid, but if you need me to prove it to you, then here it is. It has all the exact same sandstone layers at the same levels that the surrounding canyon does. You can literally see the Coconino sandstone cap on this, as well as the bands of the same sandstone at the same level around the sides of the canyon. You baffle me. What's your next point?
For those of you who've been with me for a while, I made a video a while back, known as the melted buildings theory.
For those of you who've been with me for a while, you'll know that I debunked that shitty theory.
But what if this is an Egyptian arch that was destroyed? You can see runoff patterns coming.
Of course you can see runoff patterns coming down, because it was eroded by fucking water, You can literally see the same sandstone layers in this arch that you can on the parent rock in the picture that you're using as an example. Oh my god.
Ezekiel 22:21. Yea, I will gather you and blow upon you in the fire of my wrath, and ye shall be melted in the midst thereof.
Neat.
Traces of cocaine and nicotine found in some Egyptian mummies have led some to speculate that ancient Egypt may have traveled to the New World.
Ah, the remains of Henatawi. This is an interesting one. I'll cover this in more detail in another video, but here's what you need to know for now. While initial toxicological analysis of this mummy suggested that there may be the presence of some nose candy, subsequent analyses proved completely inconclusive. However, the subsequent analyses did prove that there was nicotine, which some theorize may be because the mummy was contaminated because when it was discovered, everyone was smoking. This may just be contamination from archaeologists with cigarettes and not an indication that the mummy liked to spark a dart every once in a while.
When are people going to realize Haru is patterned after the Palomando falcon, which is a bird that's only indigenous to the Americas?
They're not going to realize that no matter how many times you quote yourself. Egyptologists believe that Horus is based on the lanner falcon because it's a falcon that's indigenous to North Africa. Stop just saying things and expecting them to be right. And just keeps looking at sandstone erosion features and claiming they're pyramids or statues or something. I refuse to subject you guys to any more of that bullshit. I would like to dedicate this video to my patrons Josen, Nomi, and Tyler. My various social medias are linked in my bio, and as always, remember to stay curious, stay inquisitive, and most importantly, take a geology class.
Nobody has ever been able to explain this strange object.
Don't look at me like that. You knew it was gonna be me. Well, let's have a little look at that thing that you say nobody can explain.
A group of oil drillers discovered it while they were 300 feet underground. Is there an explanation as to how that doll was that deep in the earth?
Ah, this is called the Nampa figurine, or the Nampa stone doll. And I'm glad he asked, because there is an explanation as to how it got there. As he correctly states, the Nampa doll was discovered in 1889 when some people were drilling a well, in a layer of sediment which was deposited between the Pliocene and Pleistocene epoch, which creationists have used to make the claim that this doll is 2 million years old. It is made of fired clay and is about 35 millimeters long. I know the metric system is scary, so here it is compared to an American coin. So we know that the artifact itself is genuine. Now, while the very end of the drill bit was 300 feet in the ground, we have no idea where this figurine came from in that 300-foot span. The creationist rhetoric surrounding this doll, which was really drilled home by creationist Michael Cremo, who is a notorious pseudoscientist, by the way, would have you believe that the doll was actually found at that depth of 300 feet. But spoilers, it probably wasn't. Michael Cremo and others who perpetuate this conspiracy use one little piece of language which will trick their audience into thinking that this doll is from 300 feet in the ground. And that is the claim that it was brought up in a core sample when the drilling was being done. Now, if it had been brought up in a core sample, this would Rock the world of archaeology, haha. This being because the doll would have had to have been deposited before that rock was formed. The doll was actually found as liquid sand was being pumped out of the well, meaning that it is impossible to determine where it was in this 300-foot span. Due to the agitation of the sediments, this tiny little figurine could have been washed around anywhere from 300 feet in the ground to 3 centimeters in the ground. In fact, this conspiracy was so easy to see through that it was busted in the 1800s, to the point where American geologist John Wesley Powell actually reviewed the find, and he immediately recognized it as a clay toy created by the Pocatello people who lived nearby. He even presented the doll to multiple Pocatello people, and they all agreed that it was probably something that was created by somebody from their group. And then a kid lost it somewhere, and it ended up in the dirt, and then it got pumped out of the dirt, because that's what happens when you pump the dirt out. So, Cole with the facts. I know that you want to have a cool, snappy title, but Cole, stick to the facts. Because when you spread stuff like this, you get comments like this. And if you're making a space where comments like this can thrive, we're gonna have a bit of an issue. You know, I'm half tempted to just make like little 10-minute long pseudo-archaeology segments on YouTube. I feel like that would be a pretty cool series. I'm still waiting on some people to submit their sections for the ancient Rome video, so I'm looking for something to do in the meantime. Maybe I'll make a little pseudo-archaeology video as a little thank you for your patience. I'd like to thank my patrons for making this video possible. As always, my various social medias are linked in my bio. Remember to stay curious, stay inquisitive, and most importantly, remember that we have been lied to and controlled for a very long time.
Geologists have known for years that there's no distal tephra to even show that there was an explosion of Pompeii's volcano in 79 AD.
Saying that ancient Rome doesn't exist is one thing. Saying that Pompeii wasn't a Roman settlement is another. But saying that Pompeii wasn't destroyed by the eruption of Mount Vesuvius has got to be the most blatant lie you've said so far. What she's saying is that there's no evidence of volcanic material at Pompeii or Herculaneum, which is just wrong. The cities of Pompeii and Herculaneum were destroyed by the eruption of Mount Vesuvius in 79 AD. I never thought I was gonna have to defend this, but here we are. Firstly, there are primary documents written by people who were actually there. The most famous of these being the writings of Pliny the Younger, who recounted his horror as he watched Mount Vesuvius erupt from across the Bay of Naples. But I guess if an eyewitness account isn't enough for you, let's take a look at that geology you say doesn't exist. The entire site of Pompeii is buried in between 15 and 20 feet of volcanic ash. This depositional layer occurred as the side of Vesuvius itself exploded, resulting in a superheated landslide of mud and ash called a pyroclastic flow. This is why we find carbonized food still present in the city.
We have not uncovered any more of Pompeii, really, since the original digging out.
Why do you think we are uncovering it and digging it out? Because it was buried. This is just wrong. There are very much still ongoing excavations at Pompeii. But you wouldn't want to talk about that, because then you'd have to show off the Latin inscriptions on the buried buildings, and then you'd have to admit that Latin wasn't invented by the church in the 1500s like you say it was. And finally, the most important piece of this evidence. And I want to give a little bit of a content warning here, because it gets a little grim. Donna, Pompeii is estimated to have been inhabited by around 12,000 people. In the excavations which have taken place there, they have found the remains of 1,200 men, women, and children. And while they may be gone, their remains are still here to tell you what happened to them. They're remains of people shielding their faces as toxic smoke and gas melted their lungs. There are groups huddled together, contorted in their final moments of agony, and mothers who even now, thousands of years later, are still holding their children in a final attempt to protect them from the inevitable. Donna, they have found the remains of people who met their end because the heat from the pyroclastic flow was so great that their brains boiled and their skulls exploded. When you rewrite history like this, you not only spread misinformation, but you erase the horror that these people experienced. I know that this was nearly 2,000 years ago, but these people were exactly like you and I, so please treat them with some respect. You know, I'm actually quite excited, because in my upcoming YouTube video where me and the rest of Archaeology TikTok break down this conspiracy, I not only have a PhD, 2 doctors, and a whole host of students who all want to give you a run for their money, but I also have someone who has quite literally participated in the excavations at Pompeii. I'm sure they're gonna have a lot to say to you. For all of you who are now following this Arc Talk boss battle, don't engage with Donna. And if you are going to say something, please be kind about it. We are not here to harass people. Remember to stay curious, stay inquisitive, and most importantly, don't stop fighting for the truth.
Mind-blowing proof of God, part 5.
Wow, well, I'd have to say that's probably the boldest opener I've ever seen in all of my time doing these videos. Anyone who says that they can genuinely prove or disprove the existence of God is making an incredibly bold claim. And I love bold claims. Let's see what he has to say.
This here is Noah's Ark, and guess what? They found it.
Okay, so we're not proving the existence of God, we are attempting to prove the existence of Noah's Ark. Unless this conspiracy goes on to prove that God was a boat, but somehow I doubt that.
Found in Mount Arid by a guy named Ryan Watt. Lies here, a giant boat-like structure, measured to be the exact length of Noah's Ark that was mentioned in the Bible.
Well, firstly, his name is Ron Wyatt, not Ryan Wyatt, but that's a detail. Secondly, despite owning an archaeological museum with his name plastered across the top of it, he actually holds no formal degree in archaeology and has never been cleared to do any of the digs that he's been on. And thirdly, the length is fairly close to the specification in the Bible, but I'm glad you didn't say anything about the width. The Bible claims that the Ark is about 85 feet wide, while this structure is about 135 feet wide, which is, as the kids say, too thick. So this mountain just does not have the same dimensions as Noah's Ark.
It has ribs like a boat.
Yeah, well, I also have ribs, but I'm not a fucking boat. What you're looking at here is hydrological erosion on a soft vertical surface. It's nothing new.
They also found man-made fossilized rivets, valves, wedges, and washers.
No, they didn't. They found concretions, which you would expect when working in sedimentary rock. A concretion occurs when a larger object is deposited into a forming sedimentary rock. The reason why so many of them are round is because typically there will be rounded stones present in the hydrological environment where the sedimentary stone is forming. The rocks, rounded by water, end up getting stuck inside of the sedimentary rock, and that's why they look like this.
Ancient anchors called drogues. And guess what? They found these ancient anchors around the site.
Compelling, if it were true. Why do these anchors have carvings on them? That would be because these are not anchors at all. In fact, they don't even have a link to Christianity. These stones can be found all over Armenia and are the remains of pagan worship sites. The hole at the top, which Wyatt claimed to be for an anchor rope, was actually the location for a candle. And no, a cross does not immediately mean Christianity. So believe me when I say that the people who first created these stones had no idea who your god even was. So while I love your enthusiasm, I'm not convinced. If you want to see more long-form archaeological videos, check out my YouTube link for that in my description, as well as my Instagram and my Twitter for a more personal look at my life. Remember to stay curious, stay inquisitive, and as always, please, for the love of God, get written permission before you start digging up archaeological.
It is impossible to build the pyramid.
I got 3 things for you that are gonna blow your goddamn mind. There they are. All 3 of them. It does take balls to look at like the biggest pile of rocks on the planet and have your thought be, no.
Even with the technology we have now, we would struggle to build them.
With the technology we have now, we couldn't build a giant pile of rocks. So I'm gonna give you the benefit of the doubt that you're probably from a different planet. So let me bring you up to speed. We built this. It's like a building that's almost 1 kilometer tall. That's pretty cool, isn't it? Here's a dam that's so goddamn big that the lake it holds back has literally changed the rotation of planet Earth. I-95, the auto mile in Norwood. I mean, the things humanity is capable of when we put our minds together is truly astonishing.
Around before us were more advanced than we are today.
The ancient Egyptians lived in a desert and they were able to do this with just a bunch of sticks, rocks, rope, and a whole ton of forced labor. You're telling me that you couldn't do the same thing when you have access to a tower crane, Caterpillar 797 mining truck, and a goddamn Bagger 288. You don't lack the technology, you just have a skill issue.
Is this proof that giants are real?
Was that supposed to be a rhetorical question? Because, I mean, obviously the answer is no, but I am curious to see how you back this up.
Everything used to be a lot bigger due to oxygen levels and—
We just need an example of a mammal that got bigger because there was too much oxygen.
Take a look at this prehistoric centipede.
Now, I'm no ornithologist, but that right there is definitely not a mammal. This bitch, an arthropluria. It's an arthropod, as you may have guessed. And there's a reason why it got so big and mammals didn't. You don't need to be a biologist to know that mammals and insects probably breathe differently. Mammals got lungs, and our respiratory system's tied to our circulatory system. And insects, in a way, sort of breathe through their skin. Boom, it's the Carboniferous period now. Happy New Year. Trees fucking everywhere. It's hot, it's humid, oxygen levels are 30% higher than they are today. And so insects go, damn, if only I had more surface area, I could be sucking in some more oxygen. Because I don't have lungs like a total loser. And so insects pop the fuck off. Oh my god, it took me 60 seconds to debunk 1 bullshit point. I guess I'm gonna have to make another video.
It seems like every time you try to bring up giants to someone, they look at you like you're crazy until you actually whip out some real facts.
What? I don't think you're crazy, actually. I just think you're really bad at using Google. So instead, I'm gonna do the second part and present to you in your own words, real facts. As a direct quote, you say about this, if giants weren't real, then how did they build this and why did they build it? I believe your implication is that these are giant steps, and let me just... No, they are not. These ruins are the former Incan settlement of Ollantaytambo, and these are not giant steps. They are agricultural terraces. But I'm sure you don't need me to explain that to you. I mean, look right here. There's literally a staircase for actual people that go alongside them. Because this wasn't made for giants, it was made for people. This is another picture of Ollantaytambo. The difference is that these terraces have grass growing on them because they were, you know, for farming. And oh look, there is another human-sized staircase going up next to them, almost like it was for farmers to access their farm plots. This is that same site, by the way, so let's just look at it with a little bit of logic. If these were giant stairs, why are they conveniently leading to person-sized houses? You feel like there'd be giant houses up there, wouldn't you? I don't know, man, these giants really need to get their cardio in. God, okay, next piece of evidence, let's go. I wish I took a better screenshot, because now I just have you peeking over my shoulder. That's a little better. Alright, so this apparently is evidence of giants existing because it shows a man holding a lion, and look at how small the lion is in comparison to the man. This is the former Assyrian ruler, King Ashurbanipal, and the reason he's depicted with a lion is because a symbol of royalty was they would do lion hunts, where they would capture lions from Africa and hunt them for sport. He is holding a lion as a symbol of power and ownership because he was seen as half man, half god. And because he is viewed that way, why would they put a average-sized man next to a enormous African lion? No, they are going to show him as a gigantic towering figure holding this puny prey to show his power and awesomeness. He's actually frequently depicted this way. Here's another statue of him holding a lion. You're reading into it so literally that you're completely overlooking what the statue is actually supposed to be of. It is a symbolic gesture of power, not a literal interpretation of how tall Ashurbanipal was. That's like looking at this hieroglyphic and being like, oh my god, ancient Egyptians were tiny, look at how small he is next to this duck. Or like looking at the Lincoln Memorial and assuming that at one point we had a president who was like 80 feet tall. You finish your video by saying you're running out of time, but you have a lot more evidence. And my friend, I would love for you to make another video because I want to know what other evidence you have. And perhaps with just enough conspiracy searching and mental gymnastics, you could convince me as well as everyone else in this app that giants do in fact exist. God, I love when you guys tag me and stuff like this. Let me preface by saying that giants and cyclopses never have existed. They never will exist, and there is no evidence for them ever existing. Anyone who tells you otherwise is lying to your face. Now, to some of you, that may be a bold claim, but allow me to break down the evidence that this guy uses in his video and show you that it is nothing more than pseudo-archaeological lies. And the only thing more full of shit than the people who perpetuate this fiction is the Deer Island Sewage Treatment Facility. The evidence presented is in the form of 6 images. 6 images. 2 of these 6 images are of actual skulls, so the only thing that could even be considered anything close to evidence. Let's talk about the skulls first. This is the first one. So this is actually the skull of a horse with a very rare mutation. This horse has what is medically known as holoprosencephaly, but is more commonly known as cyclopia. This is an incredibly rare birth defect affecting about 1 in every 100,000 newborns. The most obvious symptom of it is that the orbits of both eye sockets meet in the middle of the skull, creating this bizarre outcome. In fact, it's so rare that I could only find one other image of a horse bearing this disorder, which looks quite similar actually. Now the second image he uses is this one, and it is my favorite because it just goes to show how lazy and poorly informed this bullshit conspiracy is. Oh yes, this actually is a skull. This is a human skull. It is from a dig site in Iran. And now I'm gonna show you another image of it from a different angle. Can you figure out what it is yet? Can you figure out why this isn't a cyclops? Because that eye socket is the occipital foramen. It's the base of the skull where your spine connects. Look, the face is facing down. This is the bottom of the skull. They just put it on the wrong way. Are you stupid? Hey, let's talk about the drawings now. This is a picture from a medical textbook of someone with the exact same disorder that I was just talking about. Oh, and what's that? Another image of the same disorder I was just talking about. And look at that. It's another medical textbook drawing. Love it. So that's all of the actual evidence he presents. And then after that, he just goes on to showing random stock images of giants and cyclopses. You know, there's going to be one of you in the comments who's going to be like, oh, see, cyclopses do exist. There's that disorder you were talking about. But this person is talking about, like, a race of cyclopses. Like, cyclopses that walked amongst men. This is not what we are seeing presented in these images. In fact, none of the images presented even showed a human being with that disorder. It was a horse and a skull that was upside down. Let's just for a split second pretend that these two were actual cyclopses. Have a quick look at the skull structure of this, and now look at the skull structure of this. Do these look like they're the same animal? No! Before you go buying into this conspiracy bullshit, please do a little bit of research. Literally just Google reverse image search what they're showing you, and it will prove to you that everything they're saying is just wrong. Please continue to tag me in these stupid videos because I love covering them. God, it pisses me off though.
Because it was made of volcanic material. However, no other evidence showed that it could actually be a volcano.
So the only evidence that Devil's Tower was once a volcano is that it's made out of volcanic material. But other than the fact that it is literally made out of volcano, there is no other evidence that it was once a volcano. You know what time it is, y'all. We're talking about Devil's Tower, let's get into it. Devil's Tower was a volcano, but why does it look like this? Oh, I suppose that's why you're here, let me tell you. So this is located in the Black Hills of Wyoming, which in the course of the last tens of millions of years have been underwater multiple times, meaning that the area around this is comprised mostly of sedimentary rocks. This rock type, comprised of things like sandstone and limestone, is quite soft, meaning that, as you can see here, it erodes quite easily. This image actually highlights quite nicely the different sedimentary layers in this part of the world. About 55 million years ago, Colorado's tourism industry was founded when the Rocky Mountains started to be pushed up. Little detail the people from Colorado don't want you to know is that there are actually Rocky Mountains that aren't in Colorado, meaning that the geologic upheaval caused by these mountains being pushed up extended all the way into Alaska. And in Wyoming, your 5th grade science fair project happened. And from the ground came magma. However, the volcanic activity there did not last forever. And as the crust changed and the magma chamber was cut off from the bottom of the earth, this magma began to cool. You see where this is going, don't you? It's directly behind my head, actually. And this happened. Magma cooled into igneous stone in a feature known as an igneous intrusion. However, it was still surrounded by the very soft sedimentary stone that had been deposited earlier. And much like a spectacular geologic jello shot, as the casing was removed, it revealed this. There are still multiple running theories about what type of volcano this feature came from. This feature right here is the one that I just showed you. There are also theories like this one and the one above it that the magma chamber never even breached the surface. But what we do know for sure is that it was a volcano. But why does it look like that? This is my favorite part. The Devil's Tower is an enormous example of columnar jointing, which is a very specific and difficult to achieve geologic process which creates these hexagonal columns. This very unique and bizarre feature only happens to magma which cools very, very slowly underground. As the magma cools, it will contract and change shape. And because of the structural makeup of this slowly cooling rock, it will naturally separate into these hexagonal columns. And this process, while incredibly rare, creates just some unbelievably beautiful rock features. Features like the Giant's Causeway. And I mean, look at that. It's unbelievable. Needless to say, this site houses an unbelievable amount of cultural significance for the indigenous groups of this area. In Lakota culture, 2 young women were saved from a bear when the Great Spirit raised this land up, and the striations on the side were caused by the bear's claws. And the Sioux tell a similar story with 2 boys, and the bear later becomes one of the buttes in the area. I'd love to go into why we should change the name of this place, but I'm probably going to have to do that in another video because I'm out of time. But thank you all very much for watching, and feel free to give me a follow if any of this interested you.
So a lot of people are trying to tell me that the pyramids weren't built under the sand and that that's a crazy idea.
People are calling you crazy for thinking the Great Pyramid was built underneath 450 feet of sand? Yeah, I agree with you, actually. That's not crazy. That's batshit fucking insane is what that is.
So why did they only put gold at the top of the pyramid?
There is not a single person who knows what the capstone of the Great Pyramid was, or even if there was one. Who knows, maybe it was gold. And if it was, then maybe they clad the whole pyramid in it and it was all stolen. Considering you don't cite how you know what was on top of the Great Pyramid, I'm gonna assume you just pulled it directly out of your ass.
Because the gold tip was the only thing showing above the sand.
Have you ever touched sand? Parents ever bring you to a beach as a kid? You know, you dig in the sand, you try and dig a tunnel, and it immediately collapses in on itself? Why would you ever build something 400 feet tall with a 750 foot wide base underneath sand? Could you guys precision quarry 6.5 million tons of stone for me to just bury in the desert? Are you literally out of your fucking mind?
The mystery of Easter Island that you most likely do not know about. One of the things that's always amazed me is that literally in the middle of the South Pacific, you find this very strange island.
Hey Bruno, while you do strike me as someone who would be amazed by an island simply existing, you don't strike me as the kind of person who would consciously cite a white supremacist while trying to make a scientific argument. I was gonna give background on Easter Island to start off here, but I like to think most of you guys probably know it already. And frankly, I just need to get into this video because this is one of the most frustrating things I've ever seen in my life. So in this video, the kid who talks like the Burger King foot lettuce meme is gonna try and convince you that the Easter Island heads are far older than they actually are. He has not one, but 2 pieces of evidence to support this. The first one is this: the Easter Island heads' bottom halves are buried in soil. How is it possible there can be this much soil on an island when it's in the middle of the South Pacific? It's because they cut down all the trees on this island, Bruno. That is part of the reason why the indigenous population went extinct here. When there are no trees, raindrops hit the ground and there are no roots to hold the soil together and the soil washes away. And as if to prove my point, this moai is the bottom of a hill, showing you that all of the soil washed from the top of this hill and buried the bottom of this statue. It is not older than everyone says it is. Stop it. But now here's the really bad part of this video. These are his citations. Robert Sauch actually does have a teaching degree. He is a renowned pseudoscientist, and I am ashamed to admit that he actually does live in my home city of Boston. But Frank Joseph is the one that I want to direct you to. A topic that I'm really passionate about is that a lot of these ancient alien pseudoscientific beliefs are actually rooted in racism and were started by eugenicists. And this is a great example of that because this guy is citing him. So firstly, Frank Joseph is not a single credible scientific source. He has videos about Atlantis, the destruction of Atlantis, pyramids of Rock Lake, lost treasure of King... It's all just a bunch of bullshit. His birth name is actually Francis Joseph Collins. And in the 1970s, he founded the National Socialist Party of America. Yes, that National Socialist Party. Don't believe me? Check this out. Hey Bruno, this is the guy you're citing. I'm blocking out both of these, but you know exactly what they are, and this is the guy that you're citing in your scientific paper. Before he was the leader of the aforementioned group, he got his start as the leader of the Socialist White People's Party. You'll notice that there are no ancient aliens theories revolving around Europe, and that is because it was started by people who wanted to justify the fact that Europeans were better than the rest of the world. Now, I know I'm gonna get comments about this being like, oh no, dude, it's not that bad, but please do comment about it, because I would love to talk about it more. Alright, now I'm just pissed off. Let's just fucking lightning round the rest of the bullshit he says in this video. Why is there a head incorporated in this wall? This must have been built by a far older civilization and was just reused. No, Bruno, it's because if you lived on an island with limited resources and you went through the effort of quarrying a gigantic piece of volcanic stone and it didn't look quite good enough to use as a statue, you can be damn sure you're gonna recycle it. And this last part is just so bad that I didn't even count it as evidence, so let's go. Starts the bullshit of these are found all over the world, so it must be aliens that taught them to do it. Here's 3 examples. Here's another example from a different place. And of course this one, and these ones which aren't even statues, they are coffins. Then he ends by pointing out that all 4 of them have hands. Bruno, of course we all built statues that look like people, because we all look pretty fucking similar. It's like the one thing we have in common. Please tag Bruno in this because I want him to know how destructive his bullshit is.
Here's scary proof that giants once roamed the earth.
I'd like to apologize in advance for what all of you guys are about to witness, because I have had a really long day. I have been tagged in this video so many times. I actually did the math, and 20% of the comments under this video are people asking me to review it. And so here we are. So Matthew, I'd like to apologize for what I'm about to say to you. But that being said, let's get into it.
Anyone getting Attack on Titan vibes? Fuck. Archaeologists in eastern China have uncovered gigantic skeletons dating back approximately 5,000 years ago.
They have not found any skeletons. I have no idea where you're getting this date from because they haven't found any skeletons, and this is a Photoshop because they haven't found any skeletons.
Makes sense.
No, it doesn't.
No, that's not it.
Fuck me. Stop screaming. Is that it? Is that how you be funny on this app? Just scream? Here, I'll try it. I'm kidding. I have self-respect. Charlie, you're one to talk.
In Bulgaria, there are more dating 7,000 years ago.
I dare you to cite a single one of these sources. You're just saying random fucking numbers. You're not... God, this is... Ow. Shit. Fuck me. Look, I concussed myself and it's your fault.
And this is low-key a big secret because some archaeologists refuse to share the exact measurements of the skeletons.
If you genuinely think that archaeologists give enough of a shit to try and hide things from you, you're probably suffering from paranoia and should get it checked out.
The fuck off massive knife was found...
God is dead.
Finally, this giant fossil footprint was discovered in South Africa, dating millions of years old. How the fuck did that get there?
The footprint does not date to be millions of years old. The rock that it's in dates to be millions of years old because the rock is millions of years old. This is what happens when water gets between the cracks of rocks, freezes, expands, and rock breaks off. By looking at the cracks in this rock, I can tell you without a shadow of a doubt it's probably not sedimentary, and therefore there would be no way in hell that any sort of footprint would ever show up in it. It's probably a piece of granite. Tell me how the fuck a footprint shows up in granite. Also, a minor detail, why is it vertical? Do giants have gravity-defying feet? Also, where are the rest of the footprints? So the rest of your giants dated from 5,000 to 7,000 years ago, so why the hell is there a footprint that's millions of years old?
I need answers. No!
I just gave you all the answers, but you're still screaming.
The amount of evidence the giants once roamed the earth is overwhelming.
Then show me some of it. Stop doing that. I need to take this jacket off. I'm like overheating. Holy shit. I'd like to thank you all very much for watching. I am so glad I am done with that video. I would like to dedicate this video to these patrons. You guys make me being able to do what I love possible, and I appreciate that. Check me out on Instagram and YouTube and all that other good stuff. The links to those are in my bio, and as always, remember to stay curious, stay inquisitive, and please keep tagging me in videos of screaming little British boys. Debunking terrible conspiracy theory TikTok speedrun, let's go.
This painting is called The Suicide of Saul, and those are not sauropods, those are camels. Next question, please.
Right, so apparently this is a prehistoric man.
No, it isn't. This is an art installation. It was created for the Thailand Biennial, which is an international exhibition of contemporary art. It was created by a Taiwanese artist and is supposed to explore the boundaries between what is real and what is fiction. And I see on some people it worked a little too well. So this is fake. Next video. Making a TikTok account is the worst thing that's ever happened to my emotional stability. Okay, two things here. One, these are from different cultures. This is Australian Aboriginal rock art, and this is European rock art. So already you're comparing apples to oranges, which is a really bad look. Now I'm gonna say this once, because I don't think it's said enough when I make these videos. The existence of artistic interpretation does not prove the existence of extraterrestrial beings. You are reading into it too much. We know that this is based off of a real thing because we found the real thing. So sometimes, yes, it does depict actual things, but not always. Consider that this is maybe just, I don't know, art? That'd be like someone a couple thousand years from now digging up a billboard with a picture of the Michelin Man on it and being like, oh damn, one of these bad boys must be running around here somewhere. God, I hate my job. Next video.
Contact and capture.
And we've got...
No. Next video.
Toys the colors high.
Just about everyone and their mother has been tagging me in this video. And something tells me that me and Space Rex are going to be having a lot of these little chats in the future. Also, sick hoodie, dude. Real quirky. Anyway, let's see what he thinks it is. I'm really at my fucking breaking point, dog. I am using every amount of emotional stability I have left to not have an actual mental breakdown right now. Oh my god, there's fucking tears in my eyes. I never thought I'd say this, but these are not, in fact, the washed up remains of Disney's Luca. Oh my god. No, you know what? Fuck it. Fuck this whole thing. This is Luca's body, washed up on a beach. Fuck this. I'm never making a video again.
This. History is carefully crafted. Any evidence proving Egyptology.
Whoa, wait, what? It's all lies? Welcome back to debunking terrible conspiracy theories that don't make any sense. Let's get into this. This video would have you believe the Sphinx is built on top of the Hall of Records. This is a legendary place in which the true origins of humanity are located. Now, this guy used actual scientific evidence to prove that this chamber exists, and also actual geologic evidence to prove that the Sphinx is far older than anyone says it is and was actually built by an alien race. Unfortunately, all of the evidence presented holds less water than a gerbil's bladder. So the first argument is this, the erosion along the base of the Sphinx. This guy points out that the Sahara has been dry for 5,000 years, so how could there be water erosion at the base of the Sphinx? Now, because he doesn't actually show you what he's talking about, I'll do it for you. This is the erosion in question. And guess what? It's sand erosion. It's wind-blown sand. This Sphinx is in a desert full of sand. Even looking at this image proves that. These lines are all at angles because this is the slope of a dune, and the sand blowing past it eroded into the Sphinx before it was excavated. That's also why there's multiple levels going up it, because the dune changes over time. Before you say it, yes, I do see this, and that probably is water erosion. Because even though it's a desert, this area can still get between 1/2 and 1 inch of rain every year. And this has been here for 5,000 years. So how do we know how old the Sphinx is? We know the Sphinx is about 4,500 years old because stone quarried from the body of the Sphinx was used to build a temple in front of it. And we know how old that temple is because it's full of statues and inscriptions. And more importantly, despite the extensive archaeological excavations in Egypt, there has been zero evidence of anyone predating the Egyptian civilization 5,000 years ago. So that's bullshit. Moving on. Then we get into my favorite one, which is this, where he actually cites a source. Now, this slide would have you believe that a geology professor proved the existence of the chamber he's talking about. I mean, he cited a source, so how can it be wrong? But oh no, both of these guys are actually widely renowned pseudoscientists. This guy, Robert Sauch, actually does have a teaching degree and works at the College of General Sciences in Boston. But the thing is he has been criticized by every single other member of the academic community for just spouting complete bullshit. Here's one of my favorite quotes from an actual Egyptologist is, "You don't overthrow Egyptian history based on one phenomenon like a weathering profile. That's how pseudoscience is done, not real science." And Dr. Robert Fritz described him as a pseudo-historical, pseudo-scientific writer. Now as for John Anthony. For the best of my searching, I can find no evidence of John Anthony having a scientific background. He is, in fact, a playwright. and he began his career as, I shit you not, a science fiction author. Now, they actually tried to prove the discovery of this cavern by drilling into the Sphinx, but of course this guy's not going to tell you about that because it turned out that it was just a naturally occurring cavity in the ground. And they used a 7-meter-long drill through the paw of the Sphinx to do it. Alright, final evidence lightning round, let's go. Here's a random picture to seem scientific, and another, and a third one, really hammering it home. Almost like Egyptians knew what geometry was. Here's a random hypothetical. This is a volcanic rock outcropping that looks vaguely similar. And this is also a naturally occurring feature caused by wind erosion, but we've already established he doesn't know what that fucking is. Ooh, wind erosion lines! Keep tagging me and stuff like this, because I'm living for it. Oh my god, am I the Sphinx?
It's the giant steps in Peru.
You have got to be kidding me. Probably already know that this isn't a giant staircase. There still seems to be some confusion on it, so let me just drive it into the ground one last time. This is Ollanta Tambo. It is an Incan terrace farm. Milo, it looks like stairs. Alright, riddle me this. If this was a staircase built for giants, why is there a human-sized staircase in the middle of it? And another human-sized staircase on the side of it? I don't know, maybe they had human pets, a little pet on a guy on a string? That really looks like a giant could live in it. Oh yeah, and this doorway too, it's like 5.5 feet tall. Let's use some context clues. What's that over there? Is that a terrace farm? Of course that's not a terrace farm, that was a staircase for baby giant. You ready for this? This is my favorite part. There is an entire valley right here. Where were they going? Why would you feel the need to build gigantic steps up this hill and into these tiny ass houses? Look at that, there's no stairs down the other side of the mountain. And this is what your giant stairs are made out of. Can you imagine a giant picking this up? Guess we're gonna make a staircase so I can get over this hill. Giant conspiracy truly makes me believe that the human race is a lost cause.
Vampires used to roam the earth, and you can't convince me otherwise.
Yes, I can. Watch this.
These are burial cages from the medieval times, and they were to prevent the undead from escaping from their graves.
No, they aren't, and no, they weren't. These are not called burial cages, and they definitely were not intended to keep the dead from rising out of their graves. I know that you're just making up your own facts in order to get views on a video, but the actual purpose of these is almost just as interesting as what you said. So you could have just done that and it would have made a perfectly good video. But since you didn't, I suppose I should. Now, I fully accept that right now I'm probably preaching to the choir a little bit because just about every comment on his video is pointing out that these are not what he says they are. So at the risk of redundancy, these are not burial cages. They are called mort safes, and they were invented in the 1800s in England. In the early 1800s, it was common practice for medical students to learn anatomy on real human subjects. Obviously, no longer living human subjects. I would hope that goes without saying. Of course, the best place you could go to find an abundance of these subjects is a graveyard. There were people who made their living by supplying these places of higher education with subjects. They would do this by going to a graveyard shortly after a burial and liberating the recently deceased in the name of science. As you can imagine, people were like, whoa, that's my grandpa, hands off. So since the living didn't want to see their deceased family members exhumed and put under the scalpel by a bunch of hungover frat guys, they started to do this. They would lock the bodies into the ground. Now, the one thing that unites us all as human is we all really love our burial rituals, so as you can imagine, people got pretty creative with their mort safe ideas. There were, of course, the metal cages that we were just looking at. These could either be opened by way of a padlock or one contiguous piece of metal. There were also designs like these ones where they would use large stones to make sure that no one could get to the ground underneath. Now, of course, these precautions were only available to the rich and famous who could afford this. But death truly is the great equalizer, so no matter what your financial status was in life, you could still be at the mercy of the body snatchers, meaning that poorer members of society had to figure out their own methods. People who could not afford mort safes would use cobblestones, pebbles, or flowers. And while these things didn't make it any more difficult for someone to exhume the remains, they did act as a bit of a detection system, with the intention that hopefully a family member would notice that it had been disturbed and be able to report it to proper authorities in time to catch the criminal. Alright, let's see what else he has to say.
They would drive stakes through the mouths, hearts, hands, feet of the deceased in order to pin them down to the ground.
I will leave you with one word. Superstition. Do you want to know what you have in common with a bunch of people from the Middle Ages who didn't know any better? You both believe in vampires. There were people back then who were genuinely terrified of them and thought they were an actual threat. Now, of course, not knowing any better, they took precautions like these. This does not prove that vampires exist. If anything, it proves that human superstition is so deep-rooted that it can exist even at a time of the internet where every answer you could ever want is available at the push of a button. So let me leave you with this. Vampires do not exist, and we have never existed.
Scientists are starting to get a little edgy these days. It's because their sacred timelines are getting challenged.
Is it the scientists are getting edgier, or is it just that you don't like being called out on the internet by people who are telling you that what you're saying is wrong?
Creationists sent their own samples in to carbon date them, and they're coming back at 20,000 years old.
Honestly, I think these videos are actually going to make me religious because I do need the strength of God to get through this bullshit. You cannot radiocarbon date dinosaur bones. Radiocarbon dating is effective to about 50,000 years ago. And most importantly, it can only be done on natural material like bone, wood, charcoal, or hair. But since dinosaur bones are fossilized, you are trying to radiocarbon date a rock. There is no carbon-14 left in dinosaur bones, which is, you know, the thing you need to radiocarbon date. So of course you get these completely incorrect dates. This leads me to believe that either you don't know that you can't radiocarbon date dinosaur bones, or that you knew and then just did it anyway. Either way, this propaganda is laughable even by young Earth creationist standards. So if you want to get these results published, I may suggest it being a punchline.
By the end of this video, you'll be convinced that giants were once here on this planet.
Let's see what sort of sound evidence he's got to prove the giants existed. Just like in his last video I talked about, he is still deciding that every single statue is an accurate size depiction of the person it represents, i.e. if there is a statue larger than a person, it must have been a giant. This ancient megalith is the statue he decides to use. Oh, did I say ancient megalith? No, this was made in 2004. Literally just Wikipedia search this. This is a Romanian statue made in 2004. It took 10 years to make and it represents one of their kings. But I guess I shouldn't be talking because even in America we have proof that at least 4 of our presidents were giants. 5 if you want to count the Lincoln Memorial. It's too hot, so I've moved back to my car. Let's look at what else he has to say. Alright, here's the next one. Searching for this rock feature again brings you to an article about pareidolia, which is where you will see faces where there are none. There are things like this literally all over the world because humans just like to see faces in things.
Just like the man in the mountains from New Hampshire, who doesn't really exist anymore. I'm not sure if he ever did, or if it was just a bunch of high people from Claremont.
The final rock feature, he uses this one, and he says, and I quote, "I honestly don't really know what this one is. I just threw it in just because." Scientific, my friend, very scientific. Then he breaks into the giant footprint argument, which is stuff like this. Pretty much this is just fractures in a rock surface that vaguely resemble a foot. It's exactly like seeing a face where there is no face. If these were actually giant tracks, they would track a distance. There would be more than just one footprint by itself. This is also not in a sedimentary stone, which is where a footprint would occur, is when you're stepping down in something squishy. This is just like hard rock. And then there's this footprint, which is vertical. Do giants have gravity-defying toe socks? But he does correctly point out that this guy looks like he has pretty long legs. We then get the giant stairs argument again, which, again, is not stairs. They are agricultural terraces. And the last argument is, oh, the pyramids exist, and science can't explain how they were created. And God. There are multiple running theories about how the pyramids were created, but we have a pretty sound idea of how they were. And I'll give you a hint, it wasn't giants or aliens. Now, thankfully, we actually got a part 3 to this video that I'll be covering soon. And he starts it off with a horribly photoshopped picture of a bunch of people climbing around on top of just a human skull. And apparently that's a giant skull. I don't know. But I will cover that one later because, frankly, 1 minute of dealing with these videos is enough to give me a migraine.
Is it possible that this is a real recording of a fallen angel that's chained up under the earth?
Possible? Maybe. Likely? Absolutely fucking not. But let's have a listen anyway. I don't think that's a fallen angel. It sounds more like a Kawasaki KX250. That if this is the original audio from this video, it's almost definitely a mining operation, considering you can literally hear other mechanical parts.
Can I hear the chains?
Do you have any idea how easy it would be to fake a video like this? Check this out.
I have definitive proof that Satan has put a troll inside of the humane black bear statue. Dude, you just gotta listen to this. Insane, right? God is real and he hates you. Smash that like button and tune in next time when I tell you how they're building a Jewish space laser in the Fogler Library.
If you want to learn more about
stupid conspiracies,
subscribe to
Mini Minute Man.
God damn it.
No fucking way. Okay, sure, whatever. It can't get stupider than that. What's next? Who the fuck is Mason? Mason, if I were you, I'd be shitting myself right now. This guy's on to you. Here I was, hoping these letters would recombine to say anus. They would have spelled it wrong, but at least it would have been funny. You also could have spelled moans, but I don't see a lot of conspiracy theorists talking about that now, do I? I'm like 95% sure this is satire or the work of someone with undiagnosed schizophrenia. But also this is from Instagram Reels, and I know that Instagram Reels is the kind of place where there's going to be people who are going to see this, and then see this, and then go on like a tirade in the comments section that would make your racist uncle have a heart attack. But it is fun to see a conspiracy theory that looks like something out of a 2016 MLG Illuminati Call of Duty compilation. You
You guys are not gonna believe this, which is good because it's not true. Every time I see this fun fact, a little bit of my soul dies. It goes like this. The number for the speed of light is the same coordinates as the pyramids of Giza. I don't know what kind of crack these people are smoking. Considering this is one of my favorite examples of the collective aneurysm that is pseudo-archaeology, I thought I would talk about it and all of its faults. Riddle me this. This argument hinges on the speed of light being 299 million meters per second. You could say, whoa, how'd the Egyptians figure out what the speed of light was? And that would be very astute of you. The thing that I think is even more shocking about this is the implication that ancient Egyptians used the metric system. Do you not think that the aliens that built the pyramids would have used something else? Does the entire fucking universe use the metric system while America's still using imperial? Secondly, this is not a coordinate, that is a latitude line. It means that this is one band that runs all the way around the planet. Thirdly, it doesn't actually run through the pyramids, it runs next to them. If that's enough evidence for you, ooh, they must have also built Jacksonville, Florida. If you know someone who believes this, please refer them to a psychologist.
Why did they find a hammer that was dated back 400 million years ago?
Oh, I actually have the answer to that question. They didn't. They didn't find a hammer that dates back 400 million years. This is called the London Hammer, and it was found in everyone's favorite London, Texas, and it shows what appears to be a fossilized hammerhead. This piece of evidence has been cited by young earthers and other creationist groups, because as he said, it proves that mankind has been on Earth for 400 million years. But this one says 140 million years, and I found another one which said 20 million years. So why can't these people seem to make up their mind? Because no one has actually dated it yet. I'm serious, the only place this date comes from is the fact that it's encased in some sort of limestone-based rock, which at first glance does look odd, but there's a very logical explanation as to why this happened, and it isn't the fact that it's 400 million years old. I actually talked about this in my last video. It's called concretion. This is what happens when limestone dissolves and then slowly recalcifies. It's the exact same process which forms stalactites and stalagmites. There was also the remains of a shell in the fossil, which bears a striking resemblance to a modern bivalve, and not an ancient several hundred million year old fossil. He also goes on to say that the handle is starting to become pure carbon, which must indicate that this wood is ancient. But we actually have absolutely no proof of that, and we've never been able to actually radiocarbon date the wood that is with this. But why is that, you may ask? That is because the London Hammer is currently being held at the Creation Evidence Museum in Glen Rose, Texas. And when they radiocarbon date it and find out it's not 400 million years old, they're gonna have to get a whole new sign. So no, this hammer does not prove that ancient humans had metal tools, and it certainly does not prove that humans existed 400 million years ago. The only study that has ever been able to be conducted on this artifact is just looking at pictures of it, because no one will let you access it. This hammerhead is very similar to the style of hammers used in the 1800s in America. So what you're looking at is a pile of 200-year-old Texas garbage. Ooh, that would have been a good joke. He then goes on to talk about the Baghdad battery, but I'll talk about that in another video.
These are the 3 extraterrestrial races that are already living on the planet Earth and responsible for the genetic modification of humanity.
What? Okay, no. If I'm gonna be covering a video like this, I need to be prepared. Alright.
First up on the list are the Anunnaki.
Oh, the Anunnaki. Love these guys. Absolutely terrible at poker, though.
These beings are reptilian in nature, range from 12 to 15 feet, and are extremely advanced in genetic science.
Reptilian in nature, 12 to 15 feet tall and fine as fuck. Jesus Christ.
It's believed that over 445,000 years ago, these beings came to the planet Earth in search of gold.
Also, why'd they come to Earth to mine gold? I feel like if they have intergalactic travel, they could find a planet that's just made of gold.
And genetically modified primitive mankind to create a race that can mine gold faster.
Oh, because they genetically modified us to mine gold. Okay, that makes sense. Well, they kind of did a shit job of that as well. Because all the gold we do mine, we just keep. And if we were designed purely to mine gold, we kind of got distracted by doing a lot of other things, like inventing football and toaster strudels. Like, the dominant global profession is not gold mining.
These highly advanced beings originated from a planet known as Nibiru.
Oh, they're from Nibiru! Ah, and here I was thinking they were from Atco Watkinson 12.
Second ones on the list are the Telosians.
Oh shit, it's Fabio!
These beings are tall, blonde, telepathic, and live in the 5th dimension. During the sinking of Lemuria and Atlantis, these beings migrated to Mount Shasta in order to survive.
Oh, who could forget the sinking of Lemuria and Atlantis? You know, those things that happened. I think I've seen this exact same picture hanging in the dorm room of any girl who's experienced with, magical mushrooms. Except this time there's no Fleetwood Mac playing in the background.
And have been dwelling under the mountain in a city known as
Indianapolis. The Chalosians live in Indianapolis.
These beings have deals and agreements with other extraterrestrial races such as the Arcturians and the Syrians.
They were able to make deals with the Syrians and we haven't consulted them for foreign policy advice? God, this country really is broken.
And the third alien race are the Alpha Centaurians.
I don't like this picture. I feel like I've seen this one in one too many pop-up ads.
They are the most technologically advanced alien race in the Milky Way galaxy.
And yet they still don't know how to make a shirt.
They have evolved into an aquatic species with gills and webbed limbs.
You're telling me that the most advanced alien race in the galaxy is fucking Aquaman?
And are responsible for almost all underwater USO phenomena.
Here's the debunking part of this video. Everything he said is complete bullshit. Obviously, I don't think anyone thought he was doing this for anything other than clickbait. But as Hitchens Razor states, anything that can be asserted without evidence can also be dismissed without evidence. So to you, sir, I say, you're wrong. I'd like to thank my patrons for making this video possible. That was fun. Remember to stay curious, stay inquisitive, and most importantly, remember to not feed your child spoonfuls of mercury as a cure for the common cold. Well, looks like it's finally time to talk about skinwalkers. Also, I don't know if you can read lips, but I have no fucking idea what she's doing in this video. I've done giants, vampires, mermaids. It's time to branch out. We're about to enter the Wendigo skinwalker chapter of my career. A lot of people in the comments of this video were like, oh, the sound of the baby crying is a mountain lion. I don't think this video actually does show an animal noise. I think that this video is fake. But how could you think this video is fake? There are two major reasons why I think this video is completely and utterly fake. Number one, the person filming is walking directly towards an abandoned house. That's kind of an uncomfortable scenario, you know, most people would be a little nervous about that. But to make matters worse, there's a fucking baby crying, which, you know, would put a lot of people kind of on edge. The person filming seems completely unfazed by the fact that he's walking towards an abandoned house and there's a baby crying. He doesn't look around, he doesn't check his surroundings, he never pauses, he's just in one nice straight line right towards the door, which is proof that either the cameraman is A, deaf, or B, a fantastic example of natural selection. This video has just had a sound overlay on it. Here, you know what? I can do it myself right now in a couple minutes in Premiere. This is a video of me and my best friend exploring an abandoned mine in Colorado. Now here is that footage without me doctoring it in any way.
There's also some smaller holes here, probably full of mountain lions.
It is so easy to fake things on the internet. Now the second reason I believe this video is fake has more to do with the sound itself and less about the mannerisms of the person filming. I think we're supposed to assume that the baby crying is coming from inside the house, despite the fact that the individual starts a good 100 or so feet away from the house and ends up standing in the front door. The volume of the baby crying never changes once. It doesn't even change the audio quality, which you'd think when you're standing next to presumably where the audio is coming from, you would hear a little bit of a reverb or a different kind of sound because of the acoustics of the building. But there's none of that, leading me to believe that this was just added in post. For the last point, let's just throw rationale and logic to the wind and say that this really is a Wendigo or a skinwalker or some shit like that. If you were trying to eat people or possess people or do whatever the hell those things do, why would you hide in an abandoned house? That is like the #1 place that people are gonna be like, huh, maybe I don't want to go there. Hide next to a hiking trail and make your baby crying noises. That way someone might be fooled into being like, oh, maybe there's a baby out there. It's no wonder these things don't kill anyone. You know, I've seen a lot of Wendigos, skinwalkery videos on this app, but there's one person who I would say is the uncontested king of this content. And I am absolutely shocked that I have never covered any of his videos. But now that I'm getting into it, Aiden, you, my friend, are on my radar. I'd like to dedicate this video to these patrons for making what I do possible. My various social medias are linked in my bio, and as always, remember to stay curious, stay inquisitive, and most importantly, remember to
Scientists are having a hard time explaining the strange mystery that's happened inside of this ancient Egyptian temple.
It's a little something that I like to call not true. But as a show of good faith, I'd love for you to tell me more about your conspiracy theory over a craft beer.
Steps made out of solid granite that look to be melted.
Yo, he said the thing. He said looks like. Well, if that's all the evidence for this conspiracy, let's just keep it rolling.
Concluded that it was not from erosion or continuously stepping on.
That's a very weird thing to say, considering that this is an example of both of those things. Because these steps have been walked on for at least 2,000 years. Despite being made of a softer rock, the steps from the Leaning Tower of Pisa aren't looking so hot after only about 600 years. So let's throw Occam's razor out the window and see what your explanation is.
Clear sign that there was nuclear weaponry?
Huh. This is the exterior of the Temple of Hathor. I promise you, dear viewer, that you don't need to be an archaeologist in order to know that that is one of the worst explanations for anything, maybe ever.
Bruh, what on earth is this thing?
That is an excellent question. That thing is Philip Zeba. He is a prolific TikTok conspiracy theorist, who covers everything from lost civilizations in Antarctica
They're trying to cover up something big down.
to, of course, giant skeletons,
They were, of course, labeled as dinosaur bone.
and often uses airtight evidence to support his theories.
A lot of people will say, it's only one bone, where's the rest of the giant then? Oh yeah? Where's the rest of the dinosaur, motherfucker?
It's a great point, Philip. Because I'm so sick of getting tagged in his videos, a month and a half ago I said I was going to debunk his entire channel. And that video is finally done. It ended up being 4 hours long, so I had to split it into 2 parts. The first part is out now. If you're watching this early enough, you can even catch it at the live premiere. So if you like what I do here and want to see me do it for way longer, come check it out, YouTube channel Mini Minute Man. Because this shit is going to be Google debunkers.
Google debunkers, Google debunkers, Google debunkers, Google debunkers.
Do you guys believe that this sun is the real sun that we grew up with? This is a fake fucking sun.
Ooh, that's a good one. I can tell you with 1,000% confidence that this person is just fucking with us for internet clout, and it's working because they have 1.2 million followers. But this is just so hilarious that I can't not talk about it.
That's cool. That's weird, right? A second sun, one sun right behind the other one. Yeah.
You want to know how to make that second sun disappear? You open the window that you are shooting through. This is what happens when you film the sun through a pane of glass. Fuck no, you have got to be fucking with me. I figured out how to adjust the brightness on my phone camera. The sun must not be real. You can even see each swipe they make as they change the exposure.
I don't even know what to say here.
Neither, honestly. I've watched this video like 3 times now, and all I've taken away from it is a splitting migraine. I cannot believe that this is my job. Follow me, please.
You see that? What is that?
Ah, it's me again. This mysterious-looking object is actually an example of one of my favorite geologic features. That's a great first date question, by the way. What's your favorite geologic feature? If they say esker, put a ring on it immediately. This weird-looking thing is what is known as a concretion. And despite looking like something which is man-made, it's actually entirely natural. Concretions form inside sedimentary rock layers. And from the colors and textural layering that we can see in this video, I would hazard a guess that this is a sedimentary cliff. Concretions can come in all different shapes and sizes. Their formation begins during the very early stages of the development of sedimentary rock, while it is still silt or sand or something, in this case, finely sorted. A little fucking rock will get in, or an acorn, or someone will drop a tic tac into it, and over millions of years of compression, it will create this cool little node. Sometimes they can have fossils inside, and sometimes young Earth creationists think that they're footprints. So I hope that answers your question, guy walking on a beach.
You're gonna tell me this beast was made without a single power tool? Arteria, anybody?
Oh, this is a new one. The Cologne Cathedral is made of sandstone. Sandstone has a hardness of 4. This is called a chisel. It's a tool that people used back when we actually had to have skills. If you're claiming that they used power tools on this, they must have built it pretty quickly, right?
Started being built in 1248.
It took them almost 800 years to finish the goddamn thing. Granted, they did take like a 200 or 300 year break, but I think that if they had power tools, they would have got it done faster than 600 years. I love how many conspiracy theories stem from being so coddled by modern technology that they can't fathom putting actual work into something. I think you need to spend a day at a construction site, because I would love for you to walk up to a unionized stonemason with a Dunk-sized coffee and tell him that you can't carve sandstone without power tools, because he will laugh directly in your face, and if you're lucky, he may even shake one of your baby soft hands. Please, for the love of God, send your children to Evoke Tech High School so they can learn some real-world skills, because if this keeps going, we're gonna get to a point where there's conspiracy theorists who don't believe in woodworking anymore.
This archaeological find may provide the key.
You have piqued my interest. And carry on.
Highly unusual royal Sumerian female.
Boy, Ninpuabi. Alright everyone, let's talk about how she's not an alien. Ninpuabi is a 4,600-year-old Sumerian burial. While her official title is disputed, we know that she was higher ranking in Sumerian society due to her elaborate burial. She was also found with like 70 other people who were supposed to accompany her to the afterlife. So next time you complain about your boss, don't. With that context out of the way, let's hear these compelling arguments.
Nin signifies goddess rather than lady, queen, or princess.
You're going to be shocked to know that that's actually not true. The prefix nin does denote a woman of a higher status. It would be something akin to priestess or lady or queen in modern English. I'm sure the confusion here arose because this term also is used to talk about goddesses. For example, this is the Sumerian DDD. This is the Sumerian king DDD, the Sumerian deity Ninursag, whose name may translate to something a little bit more akin to great goddess, despite the fact that the nin prefix is exactly the same one used for ladies and priestesses. And as a quick side note, she also has the most bad bitch energy of anybody I've ever seen in my entire life.
Her skull is almost 3 times larger than a human skull.
Oh boy. Okay. Technically, yes, it is almost 3 times larger than a human skull, but do you want to know why that is? A little bit of a content warning. I'm going to show a skull for educational purposes. This is how they found Nin Puabi's skull. I blurred the eyes in a feeble attempt to make TikTok not take this video down. I just want to teach people things. Is that too much to ask? The reason her skull is 3 times larger is because over the past 5,000 years, it had been crushed by tons upon tons of dirt. There is not a single piece of research to suggest that she had a higher cranial capacity than that of a modern human, and the only thing this person is going off is the fact that her skull was found flat.
8 more teeth than a normal human.
Are you even talking about the same person anymore? Because that's definitely not the same jaw that's in the actual picture of her skull. After combing the internet, I only found one video where that screenshot she used comes from, and it's in like Japanese, and I can't understand what it's talking about. There is no actual published evidence to suggest that she has more teeth than a modern human. I'm gonna say that is a massive cap and move on.
Breaking news. I just found in a recent 2021 Ancient Aliens video.
No, I'm not doing this fucking stupid thing anymore. The perfect time to give you guys an update on my Ancient Aliens YouTube series. Yes, I know it's late. I am working on it. Life decided to throw just about every single curveball at me at the exact same time, so I decided in my current mental state it would probably be a terrible idea to watch every single episode of Ancient Aliens. The most compelling argument in this video is that they haven't sequenced her DNA yet. So if not having any evidence is the best evidence you can provide, then I'm sorry, but your arguments hold less water than your bladder on a road trip. This video is dedicated to my lovely patrons April, Tori, and Samantha. My various social medias are linked in my bio, and as always, remember to stay curious, stay inquisitive, and most importantly, stay sexy.
The lizard people are real.
No, fuck it. Fuck that. Not doing it. Not happening.
Also been told that the 24th of September 2022 will be the end time.
Hey, you want to see something really funny? Oh, the world didn't end. Who would have fucking thought? September 24th is gonna be a day that we all remember. Yeah, it fucking is. You want to see what I did on September 24th? I bought this sick fucking corner chair at an estate sale for $30. I tell you to sit down, but I don't see you with a corner chair. Now, obviously, these end of the world predictions are as stupid as they've always been. But I think I have to address you here personally, Daily Rundown with Chris. Do you mind if I call you by your first name, Daily? If someone calls you out on the things you're saying being wrong and your response is, I didn't start the conspiracy, I just reported on it, it kind of makes it look like you don't have a spine. This isn't my fault, I was just following orders. You're also right that you can't help if it made national news, but you can control what you report on. And you end this by saying to call out those that actually scared people. Your video on this got 9.3 million views. It's not my fault, I'm just doing what everyone else is doing. Watch out, Associated Press, this guy is coming for your job.
They haven't built a pyramid bigger than Giza yet.
Fine, I'll talk about this stupid video.
Pyramid of the Sun in Bosnia, triangular sides. That's it, pyramid confirmed. We're joking.
No, that's it. He talks about magnets and compasses, but none of it matters because it's not a pyramid. He doesn't tell you the important stuff, like the guy who discovered it is a Bosnian businessman. I wonder what his motive could be for getting his name slapped on a tourist attraction.
Formations look natural to you.
Flatiron Mountain, it's been confirmed by multiple geologists. I know, it really looks like a pyramid, doesn't it?
35,000 years old.
Bro, what the fuck? No. You're gonna just accept that number at face value? You're not even gonna question this timeline? Aren't you people supposed to be critical thinkers? You cannot actually look at that and think that that makes any goddamn sense.
Each stacked with geopolymer binding with perfect placement.
Geopolymer binding. Sedimentary rock that cracked and eroded, that's why they fit together so well.
At these tunnels, large stone blocks were found.
Perhaps a cave. Oh, it's too smooth, it had to be people.
Flat out ignored by mainstream archaeology.
Humanity's greatest threat, mainstream archaeologist. You can find a more noble enemy than that, G.I. Joe.
Here are 5 photos that cannot be explained.
Well, they can be, but naming a video, here are 5 photos which I could explain if I wanted to, doesn't really retain an audience, does it?
And quite simply sent the internet into a frenzy.
Quite simply sent the incident into a frenzy. I don't know what that means. These photos quite simply sent the incident into a frenzy. I could not tell you.
First up is the Black Knight satellite. In 1998, NASA took this photo of a potential extraterrestrial spacecraft.
So this photo was taken by the STS-88 mission, which was inbound to the International Space Station. In reality, what it is a thermal blanket that fell off of the space station during construction. When building the space station, they sent up insulating blankets to cover its pivoting pins, because space is cold most of the time. Unfortunately, during the construction, I guess somebody dropped one of the blankets and it just floated off into space. Where we actually have radio records of the astronauts speaking to one another as the blanket floated away into the void. Jerry, one of the thermal covers got away from you. So no, this is not an alien, this is just because Jerry dropped a blanket into deep space.
Completely disappeared and we have not seen it to this day.
Because it's a blanket and it just floated off into space. But it doesn't sound quite as exciting when you say it like that.
Next up is the mysterious onlooker, who was actually spotted in photographs at the death of JFK. The FBI contacted every single person in every single photo that day. This woman was never identified and never found.
He was literally driving down the middle of the street surrounded by people. The fact that they were not able to find one of these people is not remotely mysterious. The only thing which adds any level of excitement to this is the fact that JFK was assassinated in the same area on the same day. These two things have nothing to do with one another. They just couldn't find this person. God damn it.
Next up, this woman was photographed in a church, believing only herself and the person taking the photo were the people there.
So this is a photo of the Worstead Church ghost. I don't have access to the original and don't know any of the processes by which a photo like this would be faked. So you know what? I'll actually give you this one. We can change the name of this video to 4 photos which can be explained and 1 that can't.
Next up, we have UFOs in paintings from hundreds of years ago.
This is a pretty common conspiracy that you'll see crop up in a lot of ancient aliens theories, which is that these Renaissance paintings depicting typically the Virgin and Child will show a UFO in the background. This is pretty much a way of depicting an angel, just not in its human form.
And finally, archaeologists opened a 400-year-old tomb and found a watch.
This artifact is commonly cited by conspiracy theorists as an out-of-place artifact, or an UPA as it's acronymed to. It is important to note that the ring was not found inside the casket, it was found in the dirt around it, which is already an indication that this ring is not actually part of this burial. It's important to use the idea of Occam's razor in a situation like this.
What? Share this with a friend to make them go, what the fuck?
I actually agree with you on that one. Please, share his video with a friend because they will go, what the fuck?
And everybody with me now. Elon!
I don't know why you keep doing that in every single one of your videos. Snapchat news is one of the worst things to ever happen on our planet. It's like the end Permian extinction event, except it just makes people really stupid.
Mummy was discovered in Mongolia.
This is the biggest bones. Oh man, Apple, my favorite company. I'm gonna get another camera on there, get a bigger chip. You know, maybe I could ask for extra cobalt and the blood of the Congolese slave children on the side so I can use it like a dipping sauce. Fucking hate it here.
Shoes that look like Adidas trainers. The pair of shoes on the female mummy had...
No. Is the only answer to that is no. The boots that they're talking about here are really beautiful. She was also found with this lovely gray tunic and this little woolen bag. Window into life in Siberia 1100 years ago, and the only time that people are interested in it is when it's fucking clickbait.
Oh, she was a time traveler and murdered...
Imagine it went a bit more like the Apple conversation. Hey, you a time traveler? Yep. Hey, those are pretty nice kicks. Hey, thanks, man. Yeah, they're Adidas. Did you make them? No. Well, who made them? Slave children? Yeah, fucking get her.
You tell me if you think this is a coincidence.
Yes, it is a coincidence. If you start by playing the horror piano TikTok audio and asking if something's a coincidence, I can almost promise you that it will be.
These Roman numerals. When we combine all these numerals, we're left with 1776.
Fuck! It's not a coincidence. I bet you that was intentional.
And then subtract it by 1776. Guess what? We're left with 666.
Who has the time to come up with this shit? Hi everyone, I'm new here. I'm the Shadow Government summer intern. I'm a really big fan of National Treasure with Nicolas Cage. I was wondering if we could put like a National Treasure Easter egg in the money.
The Australian $20 note now.
Oh please, Australia lost a war against birds. Do you think they're being asked to help with the New World Order?
And then If we multiply it by the 2, we get...
You don't actually have to make up an evil shadow government to be mad at. You can just be mad at the normal government. And you kind of should be, because they actually, don't give a fuck about you. So if that looks unfair to you, just remember there's a lot more of us than there are of them. And so all I'm saying is what we should do.
They would discover a giant's remains that were 72 feet in length.
No, they didn't. Hey, Night God. We both knew this day would come. A lot of people have been tagging me in your videos telling me to debunk the stuff you're talking about, but since this is your most recent one and it's about giants, I'm gonna cover it now. So let's just get started. This is what is known as an unfalsifiable hypothesis. You have absolutely no proof of that. In fact, I can find almost no evidence of it even happening. The only evidence I can find of this is from this article written 6 years ago by a guy named Mo. So yeah, hardly a primary source right there. This website also just has a whole bunch of stuff about Satanism and Freemasons and stuff on it, so ooh, top tier reporting. Since this is the only source I could find, I'm going to say this claim is dubious at best and false. Next order of business, let's go.
They would also discover remains from another giant that stood over 40 feet tall.
This one is practically recent in the grand scheme of things, and I can't even find where you got these dates from. And this one, I can't even find a single source confirming. Not even an article written by a guy named Mo. Let's see the next one.
Later archaeological expeditions all throughout the island of Crete, they would locate these battle axes. Studies show that in order to wield these, you would have to be anywhere from 40 to 60 feet tall.
Oh, you're actually right about this one. You would have to be 40 to 60 feet tall to wield one of these. But you know what the caveat is? They weren't meant to be wielded. This is known as a labrys. It is a double-headed axe, and it was actually a sacred symbol for the Minoans who occupied the island of Crete. Interestingly, this symbol would only accompany goddesses and never gods. So these large labrys with a reconstructed hilt were likely just ceremonial objects. And just to disprove the giant thing a little bit further, look at these axe heads from the side. This metal is so thin that if you tried to wield one of these things, it would likely crumple like tinfoil. And I'm sure time and weather has had some effect on it, but all in all, they look fairly structurally sound. And they certainly do not look like they were built for combat. Next point, let's go.
This is where I would discover these, all across the ocean floor.
Go on.
Student research team studying oceanography would find tracks 7 feet long in the Pacific.
You know, that would be pretty awesome, if it was actually true. You can correct me if I'm wrong, but it sounds like what you did was cited a clickbait article title without actually reading the article. I'm fairly confident this is the article he's referring to, as it comes up multiple times when you Google the keywords involved. So let's see what this study actually says. Here's another article with a picture of those footprints. English researchers found nearly 3,500 of these tracks about 1.5 miles below the ocean's surface. And there's a whole lot of theories about how they got there. Some people seem to suggest that it was deep diving whales that made the disturbance, and others suggest that it was some other type of marine life, though it's so deep that it's rather difficult to tell. But you know what I can tell you you're not going to find 1.5 miles underneath the ocean? Giants. Why would they be there? How do they breathe? Do they have 1.5 mile long snorkel? God. Okay, centering myself. He then wraps up his video by saying that these things on the ocean floor were left with a 70-foot giant. And I'm sorry, but if a giant was 70 feet tall, its footprints would not be visible from space. Night God, if I misrepresented anything you actually said in this video, please feel free to correct me, but otherwise, I look forward to seeing the rest of your conspiracy videos.